Today, we will unravel the moving story told in the Book of Kings, in which a messenger from God is sent to Bethel with a decisive message for King Jeroboam of Israel. At first glance, this narrative may seem like just one of many, but its unfolding reveals a tragic twist that culminates in the prophet's death by a lion. This extraordinary event and its circumstances carry profound lessons about God's indisputable sovereignty. Every detail, every dialogue, and every action in this story are not mere coincidences. They form a tapestry rich in meaning and symbolism, challenging our perceptions and inviting us to reflect on the nature of faith, the power of divine promises, and the weight of the consequences of our choices. As we explore this story, we will be confronted with questions of loyalty, justice, and the lasting impact of disobedience. If you are fascinated by these narratives that mix the divine with human drama, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any content we have to offer, and join a learning and discovery community where we explore together the mysteries and wonders of the sacred scriptures. Before delving into the events that led the prophet to Bethel, it is crucial to understand the historical context of this intriguing episode in the Book of Kings. In the days following the reigns of David and Solomon, Israel was at a critical juncture in its history. With the death of Solomon, the great kingdom of Israel was fragmented due to the mismanagement and lack of wisdom of Rehoboam, son of Solomon. The north, now led by Jeroboam, a former officer of Solomon, proclaimed itself as a new kingdom, while the south, encompassing the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, remained under the reign of David with Rehoboam as its king. This division not only precipitated a period of political turmoil, but also precipitated a profound spiritual crisis. Jeroboam, exceeding the limits of his divine directives, instituted pagan altars at Bethel and Dan, diverting the people from the worship prescribed by Moses and directly challenging God's authority. This era of fragmentation and conflict was not just a struggle for earthly power. It represented a profound spiritual crisis, where the foundations of faith were being questioned and fidelity to the God of Israel was at stake. The choices Jeroboam made not only altered Israel's political course, but also shaped the nation's spiritual character for generations. These events put the dramatic sending of the prophet to Bethel into perspective, illustrating not just a political battle between divided kingdoms, but an epic struggle between true worship and the seductions of idolatry. Sign up now and be part of this exciting dive into biblical history, where each episode teaches us more about faith, power, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. Returning to Bethel, the place where the prophet was assigned, we see a historic site that was once marked by divine presence when Jacob dreamed of angels. However, this same place, under Jeroboam, became a center of rebellion against God. Faced with this scenario, the man of God was sent to condemn the idolatrous altar and warn Jeroboam about his apostasy, marking the beginning of a series of divine and terrifying events. The altar at Bethel was not just a symbol of rebellion, but a direct affront to God's sovereignty, defying the divine command that established Jerusalem as the only place of true worship. By erecting such an altar, Jeroboam not only fragmented the nation politically, but also tore the spiritual fabric that united the people to their God. The prophet's mission, therefore, transcended a mere rebuke. It was a call to repentance and an attempt at spiritual realignment. The prophet, when confronting Jeroboam, not only carried a word of condemnation, but also an offer of redemption, highlighting God's mercy and patience even in the face of disobedience. The importance of this mission cannot be underestimated, for it represented a turning point, a moment when Israel's spiritual future hung in the balance. If this story resonates with you, subscribe to explore more deeply these dynamic interactions between the divine and the human. The climax of the prophet's mission to Bethel came with a dramatic sign when the altar was split in half and its ashes scattered, symbolizing God's condemnation not only against idolatry, but as a portent of Israel's imminent spiritual and political collapse under the of Jeroboam. This event was followed by the immediate paralysis of Jeroboam's hand as he attempted to attack the prophet, a clear demonstration of divine power and the serious consequences of disobedience. The breaking of the altar and the scattering of the ashes were powerful symbols, reinforcing the message that no rebellion against the order established by God would go unpunished. Furthermore, the incapacitation of Jeroboam's hand was not only a physical punishment, but also a visible sign that human authority is limited and can be easily contained by divine will. This miracle served as a warning not only to Jeroboam, but to the entire people of Israel, that fidelity to God is fundamental and that apostasy brings severe and visible consequences. Through this event, God not only punished a disobedient king, but also reaffirmed his commitment to the nation of Israel, reminding them of his constant presence and undeniable power. Each scattered ash echoed the message that true worship must be preserved and that idolatry would be ruthlessly destroyed. Subscribe to the channel now and activate the bell to witness more revelations about how God powerfully interacts in human history. After completing his mission, the prophet received divine instructions not to retrace his path or consume food at Bethel, a symbol of his complete separation from the corrupt practices there and a reminder of the need to maintain spiritual purity. This command from God was a definitive test of the prophet's obedience, a demonstration that his service to God should transcend everyday conveniences and earthly temptations. By prohibiting returning along the same path, God was instructing the prophet to avoid spiritual contamination from the influences he had faced, symbolizing the constant journey towards a new spiritual direction, free from the traps of the past. The prohibition of eating and drinking at Bethel represented a forced fast, a detachment from physical bonds that could divert their sacred mission. These orders were not merely capricious, they reflected a deep spiritual significance, highlighting the sanctity of the prophet's mission and the importance of absolute obedience, even in the face of basic needs. These divine guidelines emphasize the rigorous discipline and dedication required of those who are called to serve God's purposes. If you wish to continue exploring these profound spiritual challenges and the sublime dedication required of God's servants, subscribe to the channel and join our community of faithful learners. However, this commandment was challenged when another prophet deceived him into disobeying God. The consequence was immediate and fatal. A lion killed him on the way back, a divine execution that underlines the importance of obedience and spiritual vigilance. The prophet's death by a lion was not a random event, but an act loaded with divine symbolism, highlighting the price of disobedience and the severity with which God treats the infraction of his commandments. The encounter with the other prophet, who falsely claimed to be delivering a new message from God, introduced a test of discernment that the true servant of God failed. This incident painfully illustrates the need for constant spiritual vigilance and the importance of testing all things, holding fast to what is good, as the scriptures exhort us. The tragic death of the prophet emphasizes that true obedience to God must be unwavering, regardless of the circumstances or challenges presented by false prophets. The lion's deadly parade serves as a solemn reminder that God's holiness and his command are not to be taken lightly. Subscribe now for more insights into divine sovereignty and the seriousness of the mission each of us has before God. The prophet's death at the claws of a lion, while tragic, carries an undeniable divine message that resonates through the centuries. Obedience to God must be meticulous and unquestionable. This event was not simply a punishment, but also a divine sign, a palpable demonstration of God's power to uphold his will and his decrees. The lion, a creature of both majesty and terror, was the instrument of divine justice, chosen to show that even the forces of nature obey God's command. The lion and donkey, remaining next to the prophet's body, without consuming it, serves as a visual manifestation of God's specific order, an order that, even in death, did not allow natural laws to prevail over the divine word. This dark yet powerful miracle is meant to teach us about the eternal consequences of our choices and the importance of faithfully following the path God sets out, regardless of the deceptive voices that may come our way. This episode not only highlights the seriousness with which God views obedience and faithfulness, but also reaffirms his sovereignty over all things, from the human kingdoms to the behavior of wild animals. It is a vivid reminder that ultimately we are all under the watchful eye and unfailing justice of a God who tolerates no deviation. Therefore, this account invites us to reflect deeply on our own spiritual life, our commitments, and our willingness to adhere unconditionally to God's will. To continue exploring fascinating stories and receiving profound lessons that challenge and enrich our faith, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and participate in this ongoing journey of discovery and spiritual understanding. We are here to help you connect more deeply with the eternal truths manifested through the sacred scriptures.